Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AC Entertainment Reviews. We're doing movie reviews because theoretically we could be doing other things. So this is going to be the reviews.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I can't think right now of what else we'd be doing, but
Let's leave it open. This is media empire in progress, so it could be anything.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm Corey.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're doing the next Game of Thrones episode, which is episode 2, and Rogue One, which is newly arrived on Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
if you haven't seen it, then get Netflix and watch it. So.
Well, see, this is for people who didn't see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Didn't see any other reviews.
Yeah.
Now they're deciding, well, should I waste my time watching it on Netflix? So they're going to listen to an hour-long podcast to decide whether they're going to, it's a process.
It's like you with Titanic, just without the podcast.
That's right. Okay, so Game of Thrones. Let's jump right into that. Okay. Let's go with your initial thoughts. You were not the biggest fan of the first episode.
Of episode 1, yes.
But you softened a little bit, I feel. At some point you thought, that was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I thought the episode was okay. I felt that with all the build-up, and just as I thought, it was like, you can see it's the record number of viewers that they've ever had for an episode, so just because of all the build, so
right.
But no, it was all right. It was just like I said, it was just lots of walking, lots of sailing. I think what sums up the movie is Daenerys walking up to that big doors when she gets to Dragonstone. That's the name of the castle. That
we're all familiar with that.
Yeah,
now.
Her opening them doors, and then there's a lot more. Then there's more. Stairs to the actual castle. It's just that's how I felt summed up the first episode. But
okay, so episode 2.
Yeah, exactly. This episode is like exactly why I love Game of Thrones. This had everything. I thought this was an excellent episode. I don't know if we want to get straight into it, but I mean, I thought that just overall the episode was excellent. And yeah, really enjoyed watching it. So, what about yourself?
Do you have any highlights? Let's see. Overall, I definitely enjoyed it more than the first episode.
Yeah. Because
I think they pulled back the scope a little bit. Like we were talking just before the show, that they didn't even address a few characters. So we were able to just kind of stick with a few and move that story forward, whereas the first episode was just all over the place. And but I enjoyed this episode. I think, gosh, what was my favorite part? I'm just gonna go with a highlight.
Okay.
I think like most people, just getting Daenerys and Jon Snow in the same room is the big thing, and so getting him moving, okay, he's on his way. I completely think they're going to stretch that out for 4 or 5 more episodes, but that's the most exciting thing is to know he's now on the move.
Which is what I've been asking for.
Snowdrift, if you will.
Yeah, I perfect. Yeah, perfect. Last week it was on the boat. This week it's snowdrift. Yes, very good. No, it was. I've been asking for Jon Snow to kind of go off and do his own thing for a while now. I'm super happy that he's doing this. Like you said, it's going to take a while before he reach. I mean, we looked at the map of how far away Winterfell is from Dragonstone. I think you have to even go past King. No,
we discovered.
That's
thought when we were looking it up, I thought that Dragonstone was south of King's Landing, on the other side of Westeros. But it's not. It's actually almost in between.
Yeah.
Not exactly in between, but kind of.
It's a few miles. It's not
on the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
But it's not halfway exactly. It's southern still.
But it's going to take a while for him to get there. So it's there's going to be lots of different things that are going to happen to him that I think is going to be awesome. So that's something to really look forward to. So I've even wrote his name, and I'm hoping that this is his name. And I think this is the whole reason, because I could never remember his name. Is the bald-headed monk? I guess is Varys. I think.
The
We've got Monica in the room, who's the Game of Thrones guru. I'm going to check with her real quick. Is his name Varys? Okay, she's nodding, saying yes. So
she's in the sound booth.
Yeah, she's in the sound booth. She's this week's episode will actually be a bit more factual because we've actually got someone who knows.
Wait, you're talking about Varys, the bald guy who knows everything?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah,
exactly. So so the beginning is him obviously giving advice to Daenerys and everything, and her talking to him about loyalty and the fact that originally, amazing how things have changed because he was the one who was trying to plot to kill her,
right?
And now he's helping her. So so that was cool. And then I guess you say her name often enough, like we did last week on the episode. The Red Woman returns.
Yes.
And she returns back to the castle that, again, we were talking about all last week.
She's got her clothes on, though.
She does. I'm pretty sure whenever she came in and they were all sitting at the table, she's like, oh, you might not want to be so close to that table. Anyway. But she comes back, and what does she do? Like, I hated this woman. I absolutely hate this woman. And we've said for a while, like, what's going to allow Jon Snow and Daenerys to meet, and I had no idea it would be the Red Woman. She's the one who told them about the King in the North.
Right.
And
she tells them, and then Jon Snow, I think I said it after you already watched the episode, but I was like, well, he knows, or his buddy in the monastery, I can't remember his name. Sam knows that where the dragon glass is. He sent the raven, so now Jon Snow's like, okay, we need all that dragon glass. That's exactly what happened. He's like, we need to mine this.
Yep.
To kill the White Walkers. So that was those are your two motivations, two varying motivations. And I think I like how Jon Snow's character is all about. He's so obsessed, rightfully so, that the biggest threat in the world is this coming from the north.
Yes.
All of our focus should be on that and defending the Westeros and be from that.
Yeah.
And Daenerys is getting this information because she wants to conquer Westeros.
Yes.
Really has no concept of this danger.
No.
I don't think I can't remember a scene of anyone discussing with Daenerys the White Walkers.
No, they don't. I mean, I think the Red Woman kind of like alluded to it a little bit, but really, it's funny how they're both. Well, he's travelling, she's not travelling, but she's waiting for him, expecting one thing, which is him to basically bow to her,
right? And
for him to basically have his army ready for any time she calls. And he's thinking that he's going over there for her army to help him defeat the White Walkers.
Right.
So you can definitely see some issues that's going to arise because of that. But no, that was moving on.
No prediction though.
Go on.
I'll have you try to predict the next episode.
Okay.
Let's assume for a second that they don't stretch it out to infinity.
Okay.
And that the next episode, a bulk of it is Daenerys and Jon Snow hashing it out. Okay.
I
have this funny feeling that the end
but...
scene of the next season is going to be him showing up. I have this strange suspicion that he's going to...
I hope not.
That it's going to be him traveling for a whole episode.
Yeah.
And most of the episode is going to talk about Bran, his brother, like touch on a few other characters while Jon Snow is on the move. Well, but besides that, when he shows up, does he bow?
No.
He doesn't.
He won't. He won't bow. He's never bowed to. I don't think he's ever bowed to anyone. The only one he ever did, who he actually respected as almost like a king, is his so-called dad, which was Ned. He was the only one. I mean, he's always been a loner.
Right.
So he's, as Monica put it earlier on, he's the lone wolf. So he's, and that's what he needs to be. And I think that's what makes his character. That's what makes his character as good as it is.
Right.
Is him being that lone wolf. He doesn't need to, and that's why I think he kind of got boring with him just basically being at the Wall or just being at Winterfell and stuff like that. He doesn't need all of the guys. What makes him awesome is when he's by himself and he just plays the Lone Ranger. That's all he needs to do.
I gotcha. So he is like the hero of the whole show.
He really is. He really is. I mean, like I said, but again, he doesn't need an army. It's just himself. I mean, like
he did that one time in an army. The Battle of the Bastards, he didn't need one.
He did need an army, but I mean, that just scene where he's basically standing there with his sword with that army galloping towards him, that was awesome.
Yeah,
I love
that.
But that was prediction for me as far as next week. Now, I mean, I hope that's not the case, that he doesn't all of a sudden, like in some episodes when characters travel, that all of a sudden, like, it takes them 2 seconds to get from Winterfell to like King's Landing, or it takes like months and months to even travel from Winterfell to the Wall, which is a shorter distance than to King's Landing. So I'm hoping it takes him a while to get there and things happen. I mean, the other thing to think about, who we saw again in this episode, is Arya's travelling the other way.
Yeah.
She's travelling up to Winterfell and he's travelling down. So, because she was going to King's Landing, now she's turned around because she was going to just kill Cersei. Now she's like, no, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Because now she knows it's safe to go home, and that's what she wants to do. So she's going, well, I don't know if she's definitely going to be doing that. Like, she might go, you know what, I'll kill Cersei first, and then I'll do that. But my feeling is she's probably going to bump into Jon on the way.
I think that was a really good... That was a really good scene. Actually, maybe I like that scene better than, like, when Jon Snow was deciding to leave. It was Arya, like, at that inn at the crossroads or whatever, and then just like hearing, like, wait a minute, who's running the north?
Yeah.
The Starks. And she's like, oh my god, I didn't know. Because I think as I was watching that scene play out, I couldn't remember if she knew or not.
Yeah.
And then you just instantly know, like, okay, that's where she's got to go.
Yeah.
So this is the thing with Game of Thrones, is I have so many characters who I like, but in an equal side of that equation, there's so many characters I hate desperately. And this episode was so good, and we've already been through spoilers, so I'm not going to even say a warning. This episode was great because I think we had a total of 4 characters who I hated, and they're all dead.
4 characters?
Yes.
That die in this episode?
Yes, do you remember?
Oh, the girls.
The 3 girls and the mother.
Did the mother die?
I think the mother's dead,
I don't
too.
think the mother's dead. I don't think the mother's dead. I'm pretty sure she's okay. I think they just took
Don't
her.
tell me that. Don't tell me this.
Dude. The 3 girls, you'll be happy to know, are dead.
Okay.
Which I think they possibly changed the actresses on 1 or 2 of them. I think one of them I recognise, but the other 2 I'm pretty sure are different.
Let me tell you something right now. No one cares.
Yeah, I know.
They needed to die.
That's why I don't think
they were just not... I don't know. I did not... All the Dorne stuff, I did not like any of that.
Yeah.
Even when they were in Dorne.
Yeah.
I thought it was a dumb storyline.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, like, plot holes in that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a shame if she's not dead. You know how much... I guess there's, like, mothers in this show. I don't like mothers. I don't like the Starks... I didn't like
Stark.
Lady Stark. I hated because she's just a horrible person.
Yeah.
And then the mother of the 3 girls in Dorne, I didn't like. I just got to think. I'm trying to think of a mother. Well, Cersei is terrible. I'm trying to think of a good mother.
No,
Mother of Dragons.
Really
she's okay.
Yeah, but she looked up 2 of her children for a while, so she's not that good.
That's true.
But then she ended up releasing them. So.
That's true. Oh, that's okay. If you imprison your children for just a few years.
Yeah. Maybe that's the way to go, though. They seem to be more obedient now. Take note.
Because what's his name is around? Drago is around.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he finally came back after flying off somewhere, so who knows where he went. So, but
here's something I thought was funny about the episode.
Okay,
was that one of my favorite characters is Mormont, Jorah. Producer says yes. Jorah Mormont, the guy who had the gray scale.
Yes.
I love that guy, right?
I do as well, yeah. The
So-
man who's stuck in the friend zone with...
yeah, he's in the
Khaleesi.
friend zone. He's kind of like... Yeah, he's in the friend zone. He's like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the friend zone. He just reminds me of Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan in the friend... Oh, with Natalie Portman's character.
Yeah, I don't know. He just reminds me of old Obi-Wan. It's just like every scene, like back in like season 2, when she's taking over the other kingdom, he was just like, Khaleesi, remember, we need to do this other thing. And then she's like, no, I'm not doing that. And he goes, oh, come on, please. And she goes, no. And then he'd be like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, I know. Don't worry about it. That was like every scene they had. Anyway, he's got the grayscale, like some disease.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny how Sam does all this research to cure it.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, God, he's going to try to cure him,
Yeah.
which I was super happy about.
Yes, me too.
And the old guys were like, you can't cure grayscale. It's too experimental and crazy. You'll never do it. And I won't train you. I won't tell you how. And he's like, well, I'm going to go read. And then like they show a montage of him like reading and secretly finding out the cure. And then they get to the cure and it's peel it off.
Yeah, I know.
With a knife.
Who would have thought that? It's a bit like who would have thought a load of dragon glass was underneath a place called Dragonstone. So it's
Where could it be?
Yeah. It's
all the solutions are just staring these people in the face.
Well, but here's the thing. You think, but I'm sure he's going to do something else to it.
Well, I thought the salve he made, I assume, is like part of the process.
Yeah.
But, I mean, literally, they just went at him with a knife. Would peel it all off.
Yeah, no, but I mean, yeah, exactly. What he's going to do afterwards will be the stuff that he uses. But I thought... It's so funny. The one thing I forgot about the first episode, which was hilarious, was the Sam parts, the comedy parts, where he's cleaning over and over again, and then you've got one part where someone's eating a sausage, and then you're like, oh wait, that's not a sausage, and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, he's cleaning everything, and then this one, whenever he's peeling the stuff off, and then he has to kind of cut in to the skin, and it turns out that it's someone eating like a chicken pot pie or something.
That could ruin pot pie for a lot of people.
I think I was ruined by a chicken pot pie a long time ago. So
What?
That's another story.
That's another story for another time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Arya's going away north.
Yes.
You know what was interesting? Remember when we were looking at the map? And we were discovering, like, oh, so Dragonstone is actually really close to King's Landing. And we were surmising that this is one of these, like, time-shrinking things where the fleet from the Iron Isles would have had to go all the way south of Westeros, like, along this huge peninsula, and come up the other side to get to King's Landing. That's a huge trip. They do it in, like, I guess in the same amount of time it takes Daenerys to get from one side of the ocean to the other. So, because the start of the season, he shows up there. So it took him a whole season break to get there, right? And then in Dragonstone, we have, what's his name? The brother and sister.
In Dragonstone?
Yeah, they have the octopus logo.
Theon and...
Theon, yes.
I've forgotten her name, though.
I don't remember
What's
her
name, producer? You don't remember? I think it's not...
The Greyjoys.
Yeah, it's the Greyjoys, but I think her name's like... It's not Aya, obviously, but it's like... Is it Kaya or something like that? Because I just remember...
It's similar.
Theon... I remember in one of the seasons, Theon didn't realise that she was his sister, and he's like feeling her out.
Yes.
And realises that who she is, and like he says her name, and I could have sworn it's like Aya or something like that. But anyway, yeah.
So we were looking at the map and we're thinking like, well, so this is all in episode 1. We have the fleet of the Greyjoys just north of these 10,000 ships that sailed into King's Landing. Like, they must have run into each other, been really close to each other. And then in episode 2, they get attacked. They're about to set off to head south to Dorne, and they get waylaid by the exact... So, like, it was kind of interesting, because I was watching the episode and we had the conversation that they must be near each other. And What's the name?
I've been told the name.
You've been given a note?
Did you just remembered it or something? Did you look it up? Oh, okay. Our producer / researcher, Yara. Is that correct?
Yara.
So I was close. I said Aya. Yeah, Yara. That's
Yara
right.
and Arya.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So that was cool.
Yeah.
He showed up because they would have been really close to each other.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a good bit of detail. It's something that I would never even have thought of, casually watching the show. But I just know there's hardcore fans who would have gotten that instantly. We just happened to look it up, because we were just having a conversation about it beforehand.
Yeah.
And so I got the benefit of I'm a super fan, even though I'm not. Which is we happen to be looking at a map. The day
exactly.
before.
No, I'd never done that, and I'm actually glad that we did because it now gives us a bit more perspective on everything. And like you said, I mean, just knowing where they're going, knowing that obviously probably Jon Snow's going to bump into Arya, and then Theon and Yara are going to bump into the uncle. Before
right.
I was just calling him Uncle Greyjoy. Theon Greyjoy and Sister Greyjoy, but at least now Sister Greyjoy has a name. It's Yara. So, but we're finding out who the uncle's name is. Euron.
The booth doesn't know.
No. Okay.
They'll look it up. They'll check it out in the booth.
I had a funny feeling that this would be the case, and maybe if you think differently on this, you had
Euron.
There you go. Okay, so Euron, is he... So, in the first couple of seasons, you had Joffrey, the biggest baddie. Joffrey goes away.
Yeah.
Ramsay is the next biggest baddie.
Yeah.
Is Euron the newest bad guy?
No.
Who is, though, right now? Cersei? But Cersei hasn't changed.
Well, I think that they're going to...
I would say him.
I think he's like the general. A general. He's not the big bad guy.
He's not, but I think what's scary about him is, at least with Joffrey and Ramsay, is they had some intelligence and stuff. I think this guy is just straight psycho.
Yeah.
He is just straight... I mean, he's willing to kill his nephew and niece just like that.
Is that the gift he's going to bring?
I don't think.
Cersei?
I think he's just on his way. I mean, he didn't know that the Greyjoys were on their way to King's Landing. I mean, that was another thing we didn't really mention, was obviously Cersei sending the Greyjoys to King's Landing for them to fight because they didn't want to send the foreigners for some reason. But I just felt, honestly, why not just send all your armies out there? And
I think they gave a pretty good reason. That
I can't remember the exact reasons.
Literally, it was going to be the perception of the people that
the foreigners,
if they showed up with a bunch of foreigners,
that's right,
and took over the city, they would despise Daenerys.
Yeah.
So it had to be a coalition of Westerosians or however they say it, the people there, so that she seemed more like a liberator and not a conqueror.
But to be honest, with Cersei being the queen right now, can it get much worse? Even if a bunch of foreigners did come in, and
no, it seems like if a
surely
dead cat
they're
took her
looking.
place,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's obviously no TVs or anything like that. But I'm sure there's pictures of Cersei all over the place saying, "This is your queen," and they're like, "Oh, that's the same woman I was throwing garbage at a couple of weeks ago." It's. To be honest, I don't know how much respect she really gets from the people, since they were spitting at her, doing other stuff to her. So
I think the goal, or Tyrion's goal, is not to be an improvement on Cersei, which anyone can be.
Yeah.
It's to be a great ruler.
Yeah.
So I think his goal is to not just be better than the worst, is to just be really in the positive. So I think that's the point of why he advised not to send the whole army, send the foreigners to go to Casterly Rock.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yes.
And have them fight that side of the battle, which we still haven't seen yet.
No.
See, I think the big bad guy, whether it's Cersei, I think they're still evolving the play field.
You still think there's other characters to come?
Not necessarily, but I think what's going to happen is Jon Snow and Daenerys, they're going to meet, and whoever's will wins out. One of them is going to hold out.
Yes.
Say, look, they both need each other.
Yes.
But one is going to hold out, and one is going to be like, look, okay, I do this for you, but then we have to deal with this other, my issue. So one's going to give in to do the thing first, their side, and then the other thing. So I think whatever I know this is strange to say, whatever the thing they put off is going to be the big baddie.
Okay.
So if Jon Snow says, look, I help you win your war, but then you got to help me defend the North from the White Walkers. The White Walkers are going to be the big bad thing at the end of the season.
My thinking though is, could you see this happening though? Jon Snow never gets, Jon Snow does get to Daenerys.
Yeah.
Something happens which actually forces Daenerys to actually go with Jon Snow, something we don't know is going to happen. It's going to force her to go up to Winterfell and have to fight the White Walkers. And then what that then does is that then allows possibly the Euron Greyjoy to turn around and possibly end up having some sort of a war with Cersei, because they've already built that tension between him and Jaime. Jaime doesn't like him. He doesn't like the people. He doesn't like their way of life.
Right.
So I could possibly see that, or almost like Daenerys' army almost kind of splitting up.
Yeah.
Like possibly Tyrion somehow making it to King's Landing and splitting up with Daenerys in the fact that somehow she either ends up in Winterfell, or she goes to King's Landing and Tyrion somehow. I could see Tyrion and Daenerys somehow separating.
Oh, I see.
So, but again, it's just an idea. Just because I can't see, there's so many ways you can say Jon Snow makes it to Daenerys. They go defeat the White Walkers and then go and defeat Cersei. That's in a perfect world. That's what happens. Or he goes to Daenerys, kills Cersei, takes over King's Landing, goes back, kills the White Walkers. That's not going to happen. I think this show is just going to continue and continue and continue. So whether Cersei, it could be a point that this whole season, Cersei and Daenerys don't even get. This is the closest they ever get to each other. They stay where they are. Cersei has her own battle, Daenerys has hers, and other things happen. Because now you've just brought in that Euron Greyjoy, who's got 1,000. I mean, he right now is looking like the biggest badass with his 1,000 ships. So
you have said before that you think the show will just continue and continue.
Yes.
Would you prefer? Because I haven't answered this question. Would you prefer the show to have an end?
I mean, I think you can always be looking to what your ending is, but I think you can always prolong it. Like, I think that you can,
but I'm saying from a personal perspective.
Yeah, I don't want it to end. No,
you don't want it to end. You just rather they
continue. I mean, don't
evolve the show over.
I want Cersei to end up getting her head chopped off, and I would like Jaime to end up somehow being the king.
Yeah,
but. Or Jon Snow or whatever, or Jon Snow to be the king in the north, Daenerys to just take over, and Jaime to... That would be a turn up for the books. Jaime ends up being the king and Daenerys ends up being the queen. Just is like, I prefer my blondes a little lighter now. Daenerys has got the perfect hair.
My prediction already from a while ago, I was talking to the producer about it, and it's going to be Tyrion and... What's her name? Who's he married to?
Who's he married to?
She's running the North now. Sansa.
He's not married to her.
He's technically married.
I guess he is. Okay.
They're going to run the at last scene of the whole show, they're sitting in the top of King's Landing.
I mean, like I said, unless this ends this season, unless this is the last season of Game of Thrones, I mean, like I said, the idea is that Sansa's probably...
Yeah,
I mean,
she wants to die.
She's by herself right now.
Yeah,
the actress has a lot of stuff going for her right now. She's about done with Game of Thrones, so something's going to happen to her, and I think it's perfect right now in the fact that she's by herself,
right,
running the North. Something's going to happen, whether it be the White Walkers come and just take over. I mean, that's the question. How far do the White Walkers get before they're killed off? Do they make it all the way? Because can you imagine if they make it all the way down to King's Landing?
Right.
If they make it all the way down to King's Landing, it's kind of impossible for them to lose that war, because you think all the people they killed have now joined their army.
Right.
So it's like, you just look at it as they've got to meet somewhere, whether it be at Winterfell or whether it even just be at the Wall.
Right.
If they get past Winterfell, it's like, how are they? Okay, I guess everyone's about to die. So
I would like the show to end. I would like a finality to the show.
Like this season?
No, not necessarily this season, but like this season or the next season. Be like, I would want a finality to a show. My favorite show, probably of all time, is Breaking Bad.
Okay,
and it's got a
not Firefly.
Firefly's the best show of all time.
All I've heard
not my favorite
is about
show.
Firefly for the last few weeks about how good Firefly
is. That was great. You haven't seen it.
Now
You're
crazy. Breaking Bad. Okay.
Well, like if all the characters knew what we have to go on. We have to move on to Rogue One.
I think we're
But like, I was just gonna say one thing.
Okay.
If everyone, producer's telling us to wrap up this segment. If they were smart, if the characters of the show knew what we knew, Daenerys needs to hop on her dragon, intercept Arya, and just, parachute her into every problematic area.
Yeah.
And just have her kill off all the bad people.
She's got a proven record right now, so...
Yeah. And that's like the most efficient way to end all this.
That, or why not just fly her dragons over King's Landing and just start shooting fire?
She's better than the dragons. The dragons are unpredictable.
Yeah.
Arya gets in, it's a precise precision strike.
Okay.
She's like the commando of the whole show.
Okay, so let's give ratings real quick, because I kind of was hoping that we would only do 15 minutes of Game of Thrones, and we ended up we've gone over half an hour, just like we did last week. So what was your rating out of 10 for this episode?
7.5.
7.5?
Yeah.
So
10's really hard for me to give.
Okay.
So 9 and 10 are going to be
because last week
ridiculous.
You gave 6.5.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole
point
up.
Ahead. I would probably give this 8.5. I thought this episode was excellent, and we didn't even talk about the war, but anyway, Theon does what he's famous for doing, just running away a little bitch that he is. But
real quick theory: Theon at some point during the show meets up with Grey Worm.
Yes.
And because they have a tortured past thing, Grey Worm teaches Theon how to deal with his...
interesting.
That was just a little thing I thought about.
Interesting. But that war, excellent, real quick, fantastic. I said Theon does what he usually does and just runs away, and his sister's going to have to deal with everything. So, because his sister's still alive, right? He just took her captive.
I believe
he didn't kill her.
Yeah, she just took her.
But the only ones that they killed were your favourite characters. So okay, perfect.
If they could dig up Lady Stark's body and just mutilate it again, I was going to be happy.
Again, like I said, the rumor is she could possibly come back.
No,
So
okay, we can't go down that road.
But anyway, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that next week. No, overall, really good episode. Really happy. Anything else? Okay. So
talk about a different war.
We did Titanic last week,
right.
Which, to be honest, listening back was kind of a Titanic for me. You gave some good reviews, but anyway, this week it's Rogue One. Now, me and you, we talk about Star Wars a lot, and because we're both big fans of Star Wars, I'm going to go. You think that this is one of your favourite Star Wars movie? If I was to tell you to rank Rogue One with all the other Star Wars movies, where would you put it?
It would be... I struggled with this question before, and I can't decide because it would definitely be. I think it falls right behind the original trilogy. Okay. I can't decide if I like it more than Return of the Jedi or not. And the only reason I think I have to give it to Return of the Jedi is because the end sequence with Luke and Vader is just so epic.
Yeah.
It's so epic.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie, I think Rogue One beats the rest of the movie when it comes to just the battle sequences and the putting so much weight on what each character was doing. Like, I think that Rogue One did better than Return of the Jedi. The whole like multi-tiered battles where you have like this fight going on for this thing that's going to affect what these characters can do, like that multi-tiered battle thing. I think was done really well in Rogue One. But so I would have to say my favorite movies: Empire Strikes Back, the original movie, A New Hope. Return of the Jedi is my third favorite. Rogue One, then Force Awakens. That's all the movies.
Yeah.
There's no other movies to talk about.
I thought The Phantom Menace
No!
was your favourite.
I don't think there's any other movies.
No, that's right. Attack of the Clones. Okay.
Obviously, Attack of the Clones is the greatest Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Let's Attack of the Clones. Anyway.
So I like Rogue One a lot.
Yeah.
I like Rogue One a lot. And I think when we first started talking about it, and this is kind of a funny thing, is that you love Jedis. I love Jedis, too.
Yes.
But I loved Rogue One because there are no Jedis. And you hated it because there's no Jedis.
I didn't hate it. I just, we'll kind of go back to you. We've had this conversation about you love when, should we say movie universes?
Yeah.
You love the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And you love the fact that literally they've taken all the characters who are in it are just brand new characters.
Except for Darth
Star
Vader,
Wars,
probably, yeah.
The Star Wars universe exists without Luke Skywalker, Leia, Padme, Anakin.
Right.
So all of these, and it still carries on, Han Solo and everything. So my opinion is, like I said, I love them characters.
Right.
So it was kind of harder for me. I've heard so many people say that they think that Rogue One is up there with like their favourite Star Wars episode, which is Episode 4. Which, hey, I don't argue that. I know in my opinion, I would actually say that The Force Awakens was better than this movie. Just because I love the nostalgia of having all of these great characters come back. After so many years, they're still back. I don't know what I'm going to do when they finally carry on the universe without these characters. Because I love these characters. But that being said, they created some great characters. And that's what they did in Rogue One. They did it in The Force Awakens, where you're like, okay, I really like these new characters. I think in Rogue One, though, the thing that with The Force Awakens, you look at characters like Rey, Finn, and Poe. They're characters that are going to continue the Star Wars legacy. They're going to continue it and continue it. And you look at them characters and go, these are awesome characters. I think for this one, is you know what's going to happen. You know that none of these characters are going to be in the other one. Something's going to happen to get rid of, and we know what happens, but something's going to happen that's going to wipe all these characters out. And I think that's what I had in my mind. So it was almost like I wasn't that invested with the characters like I should have been.
Right.
Because I knew what was going to happen. And I think, honestly, that was probably one of my biggest issues with Episode 1, 2, and 3, was all of the... as bad as it was like literally all I could focus on was Anakin.
Right.
And as bad as he was, it was... I mean, now that being said, that was what my first initial thought of seeing it. I watched it again. I've only seen Rogue One twice. I've seen Force Awakens loads of times. Watching it a second time, though, I think I respected the movie a lot more as far as like similar to Titanic in the visuals. Like, I mean, the scenes in space, the wars and everything, just brilliant. Like, I mean, that's the one thing that I would say that possibly has over Force Awakens. It's just the wars and everything, which is absolutely brilliant. The characters in it that they did have were excellent. I mean, they were still very good characters. I thought it was a really interesting. You've got the beginning where you've got. Our producers kind of left the room, but Galen, who is, and you'll have to help me with the other character's name, but Galen is the dad. Okay, he's at the beginning, and he's the one who's created this Death Star, or the weapon and everything like that they end up using. It's his story, and it's weird because it's kind of like you look at, as a Star Wars fan, you look at the Empire, and you look at these are just horrible, nasty people. Well, here's a member of the Empire, and he's a family man, has his own farm and everything like that.
Trying to get out, like the Mafia.
Exactly, trying to get out, and they come back and they want him to continue to build for them and create this weapon.
Right.
And it was just excellent seeing. That was a really cool just look on getting into this character and how the person who created such a terrible weapon that is I mean, who ever heard of a planet killer or a world? I think they call it a world killer. Than this farmer guy who's a good husband and a good father is also the creator of this weapon of mass destruction. So it's just insane. And then obviously you go into the daughter and everything. But yeah, that was one character I liked. How in depth they went with the look. It was a really interesting way of looking at that character. So,
and I think that's what it is. Do you think that's something you got more the second time you watched it?
I think so. I think because it's like the first time I watched it, I was struggling to kind of keep up with it.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, who's this guy?
Because it jumps around in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like there's this guy, and then there's this guy, and there's this guy.
So I wasn't too sure. I think the second time, knowing that what Galen's going to create, it's like, my God, it's like this guy who's supposed to be a good guy is creating this, again, weapon of mass destruction. So it's just, it was very, I definitely got that out the second time, just knowing a little bit more. The other thing I didn't think about was, and I forgot his name, so you've got his daughter, who, Anne, I think her name's Anne, she goes by Anne, but
her name is totally escaping me right now.
Her character, the character's real name is something else. I think she changed her name to Anne something.
Yes.
But her character was something I've completely forgotten. So she ends up meeting the guy who was in the terminal, who was the food delivery guy in the terminal. I don't know if this is like his second ever movie.
What?
Amazing. You don't remember that?
I never saw the terminal.
Oh, you need to
Tom Hanks movie, right?
Yeah, that might have to be something else we end up reviewing sometime.
You're talking about the main guy in this movie?
The main guy, the kind of Italian guy. Italian-looking guy.
He's
you know what I'm talking about? With the little goatee and the...
Yes.
So he goes, you meet him and you're like, oh, who's this guy? He seems kind of cool and everything, and comes across as this, similar to what Jon Snow's getting back into, his lone wolf sort of thing. He's the rebel guy, he's by himself. Interesting thing, I completely forgot about the first watching it. You look at this guy and you're like, okay, this guy is like, he's the super good guy. I remember what happens with him and the girl, and then I forget about at the beginning where he meets his what do you call it? Informant, who's got the broken arm, and they end up getting interrogated by the stormtroopers. And what's his name?
Cassian.
Cassian kills the stormtroopers, and his informant's going mad and everything. He's like, it's okay, and shoots the informant. He kills his own informant. You're like, wow. It's like, okay, that's kind of an interesting. I forgot about that. It's like, that was kind of different. Like, it's showing, I think, that this guy is willing to do anything to make sure that the rebels get what they want. And that was just an interesting twist that I don't think you would have ever seen that. You don't really see good guys killing their own guys. Right. You know what I mean? That's kind of taboo to Star Wars. Bad guys do that, not good guys.
That's exactly one of the aspects. The whole thing you just explained from Galen Erso to Cassian is exactly one of the aspects of this movie that I enjoy.
Yeah.
That Star Wars has always been so, it's just generally black and white.
Yeah.
Bad guys over here, good guys over here.
Yeah.
But in Rogue One, the first scene, we have the guy who built the Death Star, who's actually kind of a good guy.
Yeah.
And the guy in the next scene, who seems like a jerk because he just blows away this informant who's helping the Rebel Alliance.
Cassian.
He's our hero. He's one of our protagonists in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, it flips it around where it's like, okay, the Rebels aren't as clean as we generally think, and the Imperials aren't as just a bunch of nasty people as we normally think.
Yeah.
That there's coercion and, things going on both sides.
No, and it's amazing, though, because this was already we were already told this in Force Awakens with Finn.
Yeah.
Is Finn, like, when I first saw the trailer for Force Awakens, you see Finn and you know he's a good guy. You see him dressed up as a stormtrooper, and I'm thinking, oh, he must be a rebel pretending he's a stormtrooper.
Right.
Because you don't associate a stormtrooper being a good guy. So that, again, like, you just hit the nail on the head by saying the fact that you get to see both sides and the good and bad parts of both sides.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a really good twist. What did you think of Forrest Whitaker's character? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. What did you think of him as a character?
I like his character. What
did you like about his character?
I like the whole...
Other than his voice and how it changes when he's older. I want to try and do an impression of it later of that, but anyway, go on. Sorry.
What are you like? I liked, again, one of those things where there's gradations. I like that they showed that the rebels were even weary of dealing with him, who's like further down the extremist path.
Yes, yeah.
And I love that they have that, okay, like the rebels are like, okay, we got to deal with this guy who's even crazier. We're trying to win a war and this guy's nuts. Even though technically they're on the same side in a way, but he's gone off the deep end. So I love that. I just love all that, like, I think Rogue One adds a lot of details to the universe that weren't there before.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, there's different sects and, like, the rebels don't always agree with each other, and there's, like, leadership to the rebels. It's like a conglomerate of, like, groups, and some groups are so off the reservation that they're like, we don't even deal with these guys anymore, but we need him today.
Yeah.
Now we need him, which spurs us getting this girl, who is the daughter of a guy who, like, the string of why we need these people makes so much sense in this movie. That's why one of the reasons I like it. And it all plays out. I like his character. I mean, I like his character. He seems like a nut. Yeah. I like that he kind of sounds like Darth Vader almost. Yeah. I was watching someone talk about the movie, and they, like, used some of Darth Vader's sound effects in his. Yeah. Almost like give him a few more years and he might turn evil. Like, he's on his way. He's just not quite there yet. Like, I like that. He's an interesting voice.
Yeah, it is like, interesting. I mean, when you think about it, really, that's how Darth Vader really should look underneath his mask.
Well, they don't have that Imperial money.
Yeah,
they're just little. They live in the caves.
Yeah,
they just scrap together what they can. But the Emperor, he's got the big buku bucks.
Yeah,
so he can rebuild a human.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, he was. Yeah, he was that impression though. That was awesome. I just remember, like, and to be honest, he's not in it that much. He gets killed off pretty quickly. Yeah, I mean, he's like you said, it's kind of interesting how he's the extremist. He really is the extremist. You almost look at him at the beginning after he saves her. He's like, "Come, child," and then later, like, it's just Like when he's torturing that guy, I've forgotten what he says to the guy. Ungali.
It makes you crazy, the Ungali. It's like, what a jerk. See, like, that's like one of those things where it's like you feel sorry, you pity the guy.
Yeah.
But he's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
he's gone mad with, he suspects everyone.
Yeah.
Even this dude who's risking his life.
Yeah.
To send a message from Galen.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
And he tortures the guy.
Yeah.
With the blobby creature, the blobby tentacle monster. Which,
I can't remember if that's.
I think you're right. I think that's it.
I couldn't really tell. What
I couldn't remember what it is. He said, "Who got it?" And I'm like, "That's it."
And like he started interrogating him. He's like, "What do you know?" and stuff like that. And you're like, "Oh, the guy's up." And it's like, I don't think the guy understood a word. He's like, "What?" He's like, "I'm sorry. What are you saying?" It's like if you got someone who could actually speak, who could tell him, "Hey, what do you know?"
Right.
Then he might have said, "Oh, yes, what I know is they're making a big weapon that's going to be a world killer." It's.
Did you know that the Forrest Whitaker character is an established Star Wars character?
I did not know that, and I've forgotten what his name is in the.
I can't remember either off the top of my head, but there's a cartoon of Star Wars called Rebels.
Okay.
He's a reoccurring character in his younger form in that show.
Interesting.
So this
sounds just like that.
No, I don't think it sounds like that. I think that is supposed to be like a product. Even though I heard an interview with Forrest Whitaker, and he was saying how he was happy that they were okay with him experimenting, doing like a little bit of different take
with
on
the
character with the voice. But I think you could also attribute it. The guy has obviously been shot up.
Yeah.
He's barely alive.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, where he's walking and he's got the robotic leg. It's like, how many robotic arms have we seen? It's like about time someone has like a leg.
I think that's why the moment when I don't know why I love this. This is inexplicable to me why I think it's such a cool thing. But how they destroyed the Jedi City.
Yeah. Okay.
Which was also cool. Like, I know that's been like a background information of Star Wars lore is that they use the Kadari crystals or whatever the heck they're called that power lightsabers is what powers the Death Star. Which means the Death Star blows up planets with a giant lightsaber. Right? Basically.
Makes sense.
So they I like how they do like a low power shot. They like say a single core firing, and it just like blows up like a nuclear bomb, like that one part of the planet. And they don't have to blow up the whole planet if they don't want to. They're just like, just blow up that one section. I just love that. And then I think that's why I've heard some people question it, like, why didn't he escape with them? And it's like the dude is dying. Like he gets around this little cave with a respirator. He's done. He's like, okay, I'm done. They blew up my city that I've been trying to protect for years. I'm just gonna die now. So I like it.
I'm pretty sure if that character who we spoke about, who was in Titanic, who was also in The Mummy, the old guy who had the weird moustache.
Yeah.
If he was available for this, he probably would have been that character to die, just wanting to die. Sorry, that's kind of going off track, but no. Yeah. So. Moving on from that,
do you like it more than you initially thought? Because I don't think you would have saw it a second time if we weren't doing this.
Yeah,
honestly, not for a long time.
I probably would have. I think it would have been with. Again, can't predict the future, but I think I probably would have watched it again with someone.
Yeah.
I probably would have. If someone said, "Hey, I'm watching Rogue One," then I probably would have gone, "Oh, okay." Well, like. I said, when I went and saw Force Awakens, I had heard so many people saying, when I went and saw a movie in the theatre, it would just be like, wow, it didn't matter how good it was, that was awesome. That's just how I looked at it. With Force Awakens, so many people were like, yeah, I've seen it like 5 times. I was like, you can do that? Like, you went, I thought once and you were done. So I was like, I'm going to see this as many times as possible. So I went and saw it I think I saw it 3 times in the cinema, Force Awakens. I didn't get that with Rogue One. Like I said, when I saw Rogue One, it was like, that was a really good movie. I always thought it was a really good movie. I just didn't think it was as good as The Force Awakens. And like I said, looking at it now, I think it's just because of the characters. It really is. Because when I did see Rogue One, my favourite scene, that you know what it is, probably better than any scene in Force Awakens, is the Darth Vader scene. It's just the Darth Vader. I mean, first of all, every part that he was in was just movie magic, in my opinion. It was just absolutely brilliant. He, like, when you see him in that tank, I'd never seen that. That was such an awesome... And the music, they bring back his old music as he's in the tank, and then you see him kind of disappear, comes out with the suit with all the smoke. Just brilliant. And then you've got the prequel bit to him, to episode 4, him getting onto the ship and fighting them rebels. And well, I guess they weren't really rebels. They were just what do you call it? They were the Queen or Princess Leia's guards, armed guards. So just killing them was just brilliant. It was just that scene where all of a sudden it's all dark and that lightsaber just comes out and just see that red lightsaber, and it's just brilliant. Holding that guy up.
I think another thing about Rogue One that I enjoy, and I think this is a harder thing to do. I'm not going to say that, never mind. I don't know if it's a harder thing to do. I'm sure it's difficult. Because writing good characters is not easy.
No.
And I would agree that Force Awakens has better characters. Because I don't think Rogue One was attempting to make these large arcs that you're going to be heavily invested into. It's more of a war movie, like a Vietnam War movie or something like that. But what I was so impressed with was that they added weight to all the things that will happen in Episode 4 that weren't there before. So I now have like this backlog of all these characters when they just... It's a throwaway line in Episode 4.
Yeah.
We had some spies that got us this information, but now it's like I know that story.
Yeah.
And it adds all that weight to it, and like them attacking the Death Star is the culmination of this whole other movie.
Yeah.
Of these characters who all get killed, spoilers, to do this one thing.
Yeah. That
falls into the hands of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And he completes this mission that started all the way back over here. And that it was the stratagem of Galen Erso that there was a weakness built into the system. Which was also like... Because it was always kind of slightly goofy.
Yeah. That
there's just this hole, like this exhaust port, that you just shoot a missile down and it blows up the whole thing. And then it's like, hey, I just like that concept that Galen was like, look, if anyone else built it, they would have made a lot of measures against this type of thing.
Yeah.
By purposely put something in that will take it out. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that that's there. Like, it
explains
it, and it fits right in. And the greatest compliment I could give to Rogue One is the second it was over, I was like, I want to watch Star Wars New Hope. The second it's over, like, I just want to go right into the next episode.
That's what's amazing is, like, you're supposed to get that feeling with Episode 3. Now, I said you're supposed to get that feeling. You're supposed to watch Episode 3 and be like, I want to watch Episode 4.
Right.
No, I don't think there's a single person who saw Episode 3 and then was like, I need to see Episode 4. I think their first thought was, I'm going to pretend that the last few years of my life watching them movies didn't exist. But no, you're exactly right. As soon as I saw that ending, it was like, I need more Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I need more Darth Vader. I need more Princess Leia. They show that little bit. Now, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is the CGI, I guess you would say, is the general.
Yeah.
When I first saw the movie, and I saw the general, like you just see the back, and you're like, that actor looks pretty close. And then he turns around, no joke. I mean, my wife can tell you, I jumped.
Right.
Because I was like, how the hell is that guy still alive? I was like, my God, the guy looks fantastic. Heather, my wife, turns to me and says, you realise that's CGI? And it took me a bit to realise, because I honestly, it didn't cross my mind. I was thinking, it's the same actor. It's the same actor who's doing it. As soon as she told me that, And honestly, watching it a second time, you can easily see it, and you know what to look for. It almost takes away a lot from the from how he looked the first time,
right?
Because I kept hearing that was one thing that I would always defend this movie. Loads of people I heard complain about it was poor, the CGI didn't look good, they didn't have the mouth was off, it was ridiculous. I didn't see that the first time. The first time I just thought, it's that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I thought that was excellent. Same with Leia as well. I thought it looked brilliant. I know she was hardly in it. She was only in the last bit, but I didn't get the same. I didn't get that that same feeling of that it looks fake to me watching it the first time. I did the second time because I knew what to look for.
Right.
But again, I think that's a credit to how well they did that. As soon as you know something's fake, as soon as you see, like, it's like magic. You see a magic trick happen, and you're like, wow, that's awesome. And then I tell you how it's done, you're not going to be quite as impressed the second time, because you look for the flaws, you look for the trick and everything like that. And that's where you see it with him, with the mouth and everything. So, but no, that was really good. What did you think of how he looked? And
so again, like that scene where he's walking up to him, and it's Peter Cushing, I think is the name of the actor, right? And he's in the window. I knew Peter Cushing was dead, so I knew there was no way he's alive. It's got to be a computer animated thing. It's the moment I saw it, I knew it was a computer, just for that reason. Because no one looks like Peter Cushing. There's no one who looks like that in the world, you know? There's no lookalikes for Peter Cushing. So I knew it was CG, and I thought, oh, they'll just have him in the window, and he'll talk through his reflection. Because it's almost, you can't distinguish it from reality in that way.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, and he looks great. And I think if I were directing, I would not have done that. I would have just always masked his look in some way. He's talking through like a hologrammy thing. He's talking through the reflection, or he's like further away from the screen, or do something. I don't know. Because personally, like, I think CG doesn't age well generally. There's a few exceptions in there. Like, amazingly, like Jurassic Park, the original, still looks good. Somehow, somehow it still looks great. And maybe this will age well. I'm not sure. But I always prefer to, like, just make it look... How do you make it look real? Not, isn't this impressive? I don't want impressive. I want it to look real. And if you have to smudge it, if you have to hide it, you know, it's like the shark in Jaws.
Yeah.
You do what makes the shark scary and look real.
Which it was.
It was. I'm sure they could have done some very impressive, even back then, like, visual effects work. But by today's standards, we look at it and they're like, it's dumb. But they did it in a way, like, you know the story with the shark, right?
I don't.
You never heard the story with the shark, how it didn't work?
Yes, I think you discussed that.
Okay.
But yeah, tell...
Okay, so
like to...
they built this big animatronic shark, which
Yeah.
you'll really see once in full, in all of its majesty, when it's chewing up the guy. Okay? And it's like one of the best scenes. But the shark was supposed to be very prominent throughout the movie. They were going to use it over and over and over again. But they were filming a lot of times out in the ocean, or in, like, I don't know, whatever. The thing kept breaking over and over and over again. So they got frustrated, and when they came to those scenes where they were going to have the shark, like, moving around the boat, they couldn't get the shark to work, so they came up with the idea with the barrels. Or if we shoot it with the harpoons and the barrels is what we follow with the camera. That's great. It's like movie magic, right?
Yeah.
Now with the idea of having it without the barrels is insane.
Yeah.
You got to have the barrels. So I always feel like you side for what will work 20 years, 30 years from now. Will Peter Cushing, the CG Peter Cushing, look good in 30 years? I don't know. I don't know. I would prefer that they don't do that.
But maybe that's with the people who complain. Maybe that is something that they probably will do. Like, who knows what they're going to do with Leia now? I mean, obviously, we all know what happened to Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
We all know what happened to her now. So it's... I mean, I think she was still alive when they had made this movie. But obviously, they couldn't have that actress play herself 30, 40 years before. So it was with her again. Her, I thought, looked awesome as well.
She looked good. And they use a method, again, like no one looks like Peter Cushing, so they probably couldn't use the same method. Though I assume they did, but they did something similar. But what they did, I saw a thing where they found another actress, young actress, who had all the same facial beats.
Yeah, I think
as
I heard
Carrie
about
Fisher.
that, yeah.
Similar eye distance, similar shaped head. Like, those are what they were looking for. And then they had her do the scene, and they just kind of morph it into Carrie Fisher using a computer.
Yeah.
So there's a real life representation right underneath that thing. It's just a CG prosthetic, really. And then I don't know what they did with Peter Cushing, because I don't know who looked like that guy. But she looked good. I thought she looked better than he did.
I think so as well.
So I don't know if it's the same method, but he was also in a lot of scenes. I think they were just happy with how good he looked and just keep putting him in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think she's got such a soft face as well. She's with him, he's like covered in wrinkles and stuff like that. So he's got he's got a lot more character in his face, or a lot more detail in his face. So it's a lot harder. But yeah, like you said, I think they were super impressed with what they did. They went, you know what? We still got a bunch more money. Let's just put him in this scene as well. So, speaking of characters showing up, one of our favourite characters makes an appearance in this, who hasn't made an appearance since episode 4.
Right.
And I forgot that it's not just him. His buddy's with him as well.
Yeah.
I thought, when I first saw this, I think I was just so concentrated on that guy. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I'm sure that's most of you, there is a scene in episode 4 where Luke is confronted by this kind of, would you say, like...
The walrus
looking guy. And then all of a sudden...
That guy.
I think you need to do that a bit louder. That was a good impression.
That guy, he does that. He bumps into Luke.
Exactly. And then other guy...
And then
who's got the pig
Luke
nose.
just looks at him.
Yeah.
And then the guy intervenes and he goes, he doesn't like you. Right? And then Luke's like, oh, sorry. I don't know. And he's like, I don't like you. That guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the whole scene.
You can. I mean, but I enjoy it. We've done it several times. So, no, that was hilarious. But I loved, we spoke about this before, I loved how you put it in, I don't know if you can remember, is why he's so pissed off with Luke.
Oh, yeah.
This.
Oh, yeah. So the theory. This falls under fan theories.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have to wrap this thing up.
Yes, we do.
The fan theory. My fan theory for why it's Cassian and the girl's fault. I can't remember her name right now. It's driving me nuts. The last name's Ursa. We all know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're on the planet. They run into our two friends, and then this guy he's like, get out! You move out of the way, right?
Yeah.
And they Cassie and her just kind of look at them, and they just keep walking. Okay?
He says, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
No trouble, and just goes away. Doesn't give them a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't turn their back on them.
So our two friends, who end up meeting Luke.
Yeah.
I surmised that this guy was like, man, they were so rude. They should have apologized. I just let them walk away. They bumped into me.
Yeah.
I was walking straight, and they come along and hit me. And so then they go off planet. They're traveling to Tatooine, and he's just burning up, talking to his friend. He's like, they ran into me, and he's like, in agreement, right? And so he's just burned up. And then when Luke shows up, he bumps him, and now the culmination of him being angry for like 6 months or however long it was.
So when Luke's like, it's okay, it's like, I'm sorry, it's like, I heard that from the last people. And that's why he says the famous line.
You humans, yeah.
Yeah. What's the famous line though?
You'll be dead.
Yes. There you go.
See, he wasn't gonna have it anymore.
No.
He's done. He's been the humans have taken advantage of all of his niceties for too long.
Another fan fiction could be is his reps kind of his. I don't know if this is fan fiction or just one fan fiction, which is mine. Is the fact that I guess it's still fan fiction. What am I talking about? Is the fact that someone might have seen him let them go, and then hold on a second. You're someone who is wanted in. You're wanted. You have the death penalty in how many systems? 8,
like 4 or
4.
3
I think it's 8. I think it's like 8 or 9. And like, I'm sure the number goes up every person they don't like. And they're like, you let
you
them
just let
go.
them walk away.
So then, I'm sure it could be the same person was in there. It might have been the barman. The barman was probably the one. And he's like, he sees him, like he sees the guy go, does his thing. You do a better impression, but sees him and he's like, look, dude, he's just turned you his back. Like, this is worse than them two. Them two actually ran away, so you can maybe say they were a bit scared. This guy's not really scared. This guy just turned his back on you.
He goes, Luke says sorry, but did you sound sorry?
No, he really didn't.
Sorry.
It was like...
Get over it.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
just like, no,
Move on,
this is
dude.
the last time.
Yeah, he's like, there's this punk kid who thinks he's all that. Has been told he's going to be the saviour of everything. It's like, I'm not going to have that. So, anyway.
This punk kid who spends his weekends buying power converters. What a jerk.
I know. It's amazing. It's so funny. Like, I guess you can tell, like, listen to this. Well, kind of listen to how we've been talking with this compared to last week. We've actually, I think we could go on a lot more than we have about Star Wars, a lot more than we did about Titanic, because obviously it just shows how passionate we are about Star Wars. But okay, so you said, sorry, what was your score for this?
Oh, I scored pretty high. I give Rogue One an 8.
8 out of 10?
Yeah.
I would probably give it an 8 as well. I'd probably give The Force Awakens a 9. But I mean, this is definitely an 8. I think it's just brilliant. So yeah, it's, again, like I said, I think I got a lot more out of it the second time I watched it. But yeah, just really good. But anyway, so what about next week? We haven't really discussed next week.
No, I'm trying to force Aaron to watch Dark City.
Dark City. We'll maybe do Dark City. The other thing is, what I'll do is, I said this is on. I'll post this on Facebook. Is anyone who ends up listening to this whole thing is send in requests as well. Like, if you've got an idea of a movie that you want, like, seriously, if you comment on this, I'm happy to read out comments, and like I said, we'll discuss your comments. So, like, you can critique us, or you can praise us, or you can just say this is garbage or whatever, and you need to improve by this, and this. We're happy to discuss it. So.
Anything Aaron needs to work on, we're happy to hear about it. Exactly.
Corey's perfect, so it's just me. So even if it's just, you know what, Corey needs to do this by himself. So he's a lot more. Yeah, the producer knows more than Aaron does. But
we need the producer on hand more often.
I think so. I think the producer really helped. She wasn't as helpful on Star Wars as she was Game of Thrones. But we will do it. One thing's for sure, we will do episode 3 of Game of Thrones. Not too sure about the movie yet. As I said, please send in requests. Otherwise, it might end up being Dark City. But
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Just let us know. But
thanks for listening. And if you can subscribe or thumbs up this video, if you happen to run across it somehow, it's the only way we know that anyone is actually listening.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really check our last one, which I think we got to 40, maybe 50 views, which I'm sure half of them was just me.
Us refreshing the page.
Maybe half me and half you. So, But yeah. So do everything that Corey just says, but anything
No.
to finish off on?
We will see you guys next week.
Bye.